I will check on, is Regent Womp on the line? Chairman Duckett, have you got your mic working yet to where we can hear you? Regent Duckett?
Uh-oh.
As soon as we get Regent Duckett
Okay.
back on, he will have a quorum.
Okay. And hopefully Regent Womp will join.
Yes, I will check on those two.
Okay. Is Regent Gill on?
He is.
Excellent.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, very good. And Tom White. I haven't seen. Oh, I see a TW down there.
TW's here.
Okay, excellent. How's the new grandbaby?
Oh, wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Well, while we figure out Greg's sound, I will once again welcome Wanda Reed and William McEllier to their first committee meetings today. Welcome back. Hope all is well with you too, our newest regents.
Thank you.
Thank you. And in addition, we just passed 8:31, so it is now officially the start of fall, and it sure feels like it out there this morning. So.
Regent Duckett, do you have sound now? Will you test your mic?
Getting help.
Well, he was up there on the screen.
He's got technical assistance right now, I can see.
He's mashed up. Somebody's in the room.
Okay.
She's working on that.
Okay.
Can't hear you. I think that means keep going.
Keep going. Okay. All right. Pretty good.
Hear us.
So, okay. We will work. We'll work on this, but in the meantime, if there are no objections, I'll temporarily assume the Finance Committee role here briefly. Begin by asking Sandra to please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Burdine.
Here.
Chairman Duckett, I know you're present and working on getting access. Regent Gill.
Here.
Regent Hatch.
Here.
Regent Prescott.
Here.
Regent Womp. And I know he'll join momentarily. He just texted me. Regent White.
I'm here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum for the
Excellent.
Finance Committee.
Excellent. Thank you. With that, I will call on Danny Gibbs, our Vice Chancellor for Finance, to present the two agenda items to the committee today.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Our first item today is an informational item with regard to the technology access fee spending plans. If you recall, TBR guideline B60 requires our staff to annually review 25% of the institutional TAF spending plans to determine if they're compliant with TBR and TAF guidelines. Also, as a reminder, our current TAF fees for community colleges is set at $116 per semester, while the fee at TCATS is set at $73 per trimester. This year, we reviewed the plans for 4 community colleges and 7 of our TCATs. The community college plans that we reviewed included Chattanooga State, Nashville State, Pellissippi, and Volunteer State. And for the TCATs, we reviewed Hartsville, Jacksboro, Knoxville, McKenzie, Murfreesboro, Nashville, and Whiteville. And after some minor corrections, we're pleased to report that all plans reviewed were found to be in compliance with applicable policies and guidelines. So with that, Madam Chairman, this concludes our informational report on TAF spending plans.
Thank you, Danny. I do show this in my memo as requiring a vote to approve. That is incorrect?
This is an informational item. It should not require a vote.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for Vice Chancellor Gibbs related to these technology fee spending plans? All right, hearing none, do we have, we'll move on to our next item. Do we have Regent Duckett back by chance?
Yes.
Excellent. Do you want to pick up at your budget request to THEC, please, sir?
Yes, that's the second item on the agenda. I would talk. Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah. Vice Chancellor Gibbs, would you give that report?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. First, I would like to start by providing a brief overview of the budget request process. On an annual basis, board staff develops a list of system funding needs that are not recognized through the higher education funding formula. Items identified generally are for the benefit of the system as a whole and align with the state strategic goals. Review of these items by the board is the first step in the process. Today, we'll present to you a list of items under consideration for submittal to the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. However, it's the intent that after today's report, we may continue discussions with various stakeholders before finalizing the list of items that will be submitted to THEC. Any TBR items endorsed by the Commission are then forwarded on to the governor for his consideration in developing the fiscal year 21-22 budget recommendations that will be presented to the General Assembly. Of course, from there, the General Assembly will ultimately determine which items are funded and included in the final state budget. And on the next slide, as you can see in the chart before you, the items being presented today total approximately $10.1 million, $9,750,000 recurring, and $350,000 non-recurring. The three items being presented for consideration today are safety and security funds for TCATs, TCAT student success support, and revitalizing online instruction. Even though each of these were described in the materials in your packet, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to ask the Vice Chancellors from the areas in which these projects will be housed to briefly speak to the initiatives.
Sure, thank you.
First, I'd like to ask Vice Chancellor Dr. Kim McCormick to address the safety and security TCAT request.
I am trying to get there. I'm sorry. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we have, again, this year requested $5.9 million recurring funds for safety and security on our campuses. That will include funding for potentially for equipment, necessary vehicles, which we at our board office, and then an actual officer on every one of our TCAT campuses. This did make it into the budget last session, but of course, as we know, the things changed at the last minute and it was moved. So we are very sure that this will be put forth this year, and we truly will need that Director of Public Safety chief at the board office who will be responsible for overseeing these officers. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Okay, next I'd like to ask Executive Vice Chancellor Dr. Russ Deaton to address the final two initiatives.
Thank you, Danny, and good morning, everyone. It's good to talk to you today. These last two initiatives we'll go through one at a time, and I want to first talk about the TCAT Student Success Support recommendation. And this one will build off the foundation that the TCATs have been undergoing the last few years, where they have really begun to focus more strategic efforts on several major initiatives, plus undergoing some significant operational changes. The strategic changes they've undergone have included the Achieving the Dream Network, which they all have joined this past year, which really seeks to focus the campus capacity and efforts on greater completion and equity across populations at each of those colleges. Strategic enrollment management is also a key strategic initiative, as it asks all of our schools, community colleges and TCATs, to really think about the populations across the state that they currently don't serve well, how they can reach them, how they can begin to expand their services to those populations and further achieve the goals of the board and of the state of Tennessee. As many of you also know, the last couple of years, all of the TCATs have essentially overhauled their entire operational system via the implementation of Banner. This changes admissions, financial aid, business operations, essentially every aspect of the campus at each TCAT. That requires a heavy lift. It requires person power, and it's right now a capacity issue for some TCATs as they seek to meet that mandate. This investment, we think, Mr. Chairman, would increase that person power at each campus. It would allow the TCATs an extra individual who can focus on those strategic efforts long term, as well as the operational changes they've undergone. As many of you also know from Vice Chancellor Gibbs, many of these TCATs are small budgets and they are lean operations. And so we feel that the infusion of these dollars would greatly assist the TCATs as they pursue that mission. And the third one we have titled Revitalizing Online Instruction. It's a two-part recommendation, and it will build off of a recommendation this board made last year regarding competency-based education, which is familiar to many of you, but essentially it's a modality that tries to emphasize skill set mastery rather than just simply seat time. As courses are converted to that model, that requires a particular skill set in instructional design that currently exceeds what a lot of our schools can do. Of course, competency-based education is the foundation of the TCAP model. It's proven to be very effective, and many systems across the U.S. are expanding this, particularly for certain populations. The first part of this recommendation would essentially bring in several instructional designers to assist faculty across the entire system with converting their courses to competency-based education modality. It would also allow for some non-recurring funds for faculty to take that time to work with those designers to make that change and to convert those courses over. The second part of this recommendation is essentially trying to revitalize the online educational operations of our campuses. And Mr. Chairman, this builds off of some observations that the board, of course, has made over the years, but in particular what we saw this past spring when we surveyed all of our faculty about their experience in the conversion to online education, which we did en masse last spring. And as you'll see in some material tomorrow, we still are doing at scale this fall. Across the 6,000 faculty and 15,000 courses, we saw a lot of faculty, regardless of their experience or background with online education, needing more technical assistance as they design those courses, as they ensure quality, as they find ways to design those courses that are more engaging for students. Faculty simply need greater assistance. This tries to complement many of the existing infrastructures that exist on campuses now. Many campuses have some capacity to do this, but in the main, this is something that we need greater assistance with for our faculty. And so this part of the recommendation would put a small team of instructional designers and specializing in online education across the regions to assist faculty as needed as they both create online courses and also try to perfect them for quality, for accessibility, and most importantly, to improve student learning. That total recommendation for those two is $1.5 million, about 2/3 of which is recurring, about 1/3 of which is non-recurring.
Does any of the members have any questions?
Hey, Greg, it's Tom White. I guess this is more of an observation than a question, but you think of the three items we just talked about, and $6 million for safety and security, and I'm definitely not going to argue against that. But then you think about smaller amounts for things like student success, and a small amount for online learning, and I think the reality is online learning in some form or fashion is going to be with us for a while. So I guess it's really not a just an observation of priorities and allocations of dollars, and are we getting the money in the right places to really help students be successful and have successful lives and careers?
Excellent observation. And one of my concerns long term has been a comment that you have made. Some form of online studying is here to stay. How do we measure the effectiveness of it? I don't know if I have the answer to that. I do concur with you as it relates to security. I don't know if other board members have any observations or comments that they would like to make.
This is Regent Gill. I don't have the observations as much as I do have some questions. Russ, setting aside, as Regent White did, the security issues, which I think are in sort of a category by themselves. But on the other two requests, and indeed many other requests, what do we have in place that can measure the effectiveness of these? So, for example, how is our reporting system? Have we successfully centralized reporting systems for our TCATs? And as an aside to that, can you remind me again, refresh my memory, what the Banner program is and the effect that it will have?
Sure. Those are great questions. Well, Banner is simply the product name of the operating system that we use for all internal operations and student-facing efforts at our colleges. So, for instance, it's the engine that would run the financing operations, the admissions process, the data operations. It's basically the engine inside the car. And heretofore, Danny, help me on the timeline, it was only a couple of years ago that we've essentially introduced that across the TCATs. And as you can imagine, that's a major lift. The community colleges went through this about 15 years ago. To the online education, Regent Gill, and a couple of things you'll see tomorrow that I'll go ahead and preview now. Well, of course, as you can imagine, the bulk of activity this fall is in the online modality. The traditional in-person courses are a minority of what we're offering this fall. And what we had historically seen in online courses is that across student demographics, there's always about a 5 to 10 percentage point gap in course success between a course that's offered online and one that's offered in person. And I don't think that's because of any other reason other than it's just a difficult lift at times for faculty, even those who are experienced. Sometimes it's difficult to design it properly so you're engaging students in the way that they're more likely to be successful. And again, we see this across preparation, across demographics. And so you'll see tomorrow some of that baseline data that I think this investment could begin to move that needle, whereby we don't see any sort of a performance penalty, if you will, when a student's engaging in an online course. And in particular, we saw that with a lot of our learning support courses. And as you can imagine, it's just difficult conceptually to teach, say, reading in an online format. And so having a designer to kind of think through that, the pedagogical challenges, the technology challenges, we think could have a big impact on student success, particularly for unprepared populations.
So what about, and again, I could be having faulty memory, but my memory is that the TCATs are not reporting centrally to the central office, or were not, and I think we were in the process of changing that, but there was some budgetary constraints there, as I recall, to where we can actually follow what's going on or collect the data currently of what's going on in the TCATs like we are with community colleges. Am I remembering correctly?
You're remembering that exactly right. That's a bit of a challenge, and I don't want this to come across as pessimistic, but because we're way better with TCAT data now than we were, say, 3 or 5 years ago, but it is still a challenge. And as they move into that banner system, that changes completely how they think about their student data. And it's as we go forward with that, we're beginning to kind of bring them up to par, if you will, with what we can already kind of look into community colleges and be able to detect sort of in real time student success, course completions, retention, graduation. We're getting the TCATs closer and closer to that, but it is a heavier lift. And the way we treat community colleges by relying on their internal institutional research and data offices, TCATs don't have those. And so the hill is just a bit steeper for them. And they are doing everything they can right now to try to climb that hill with us. But you're right, Regent Gill, that is a gap. It's something that creates some blind spots for us at times that we hope this will be able to impact in the long term.
Do you think that will this resolve? And again, I'm going back to what I think you and I discussed about what we really needed was some type of data program so that we could be online with the TCATs. And again, I could be remembering wrong, but that there just wasn't the money there. Does the banner solve that?
It goes a long way towards that, yes. So, for instance, you'll see data from us tomorrow that speaks to some TCAT student data that was heretofore more difficult to see. This investment that we're recommending of the $2.7 million would not directly address the technology and system challenges. It would help address the sort of the person capacity challenges. For instance, these TCATs would be then more able, we think, to reckon with their own data, to begin to analyze it along with us. We provide that capacity as well. So it wouldn't address the technology challenges, but it would help address, we think, the sort of analytic capacity that TCATs desperately need.
Well, I'll as a closing observation, I'll echo what I think was Regent White was saying. I have concerns about small programs where you spend, $3 million here and $2 million there and $1 million here and $1 million there, and I don't know how you measure whether or not they're working or not. I don't know how you would measure how this student success support personnel is whether that money's being spent well there, whether what the outcome is. So I just share that as a observation, I guess.
Thank you, Regent Gill. Any other comments?
Vice Chancellor Gibbs, I'm going to interject for just a moment. Vice Chancellor Gibbs, would you mind sort of just as an overarching answer to what Regent Gill was getting at, talk about how everything that we spend, we go back and we look at the dollars on where they're spent, making sure that everything was spent appropriately, and then how we go back to sort of measure that, and what processes we have in place that we do that for everything we put in place.
Sure. And I can give an example, I think, with probably the last project that was recommended by the board to THEC that was funded in the governor's budget. That was actually some safety and security money. It was $2 million worth of funding. The Board of Regents, our institution, received about $1.1 million of that on an annual basis, and this was a 3-year program. So in total, we received about $3.3 million. And we monitor kind of the status of that. We reach out to our campuses on a regular basis and get feedback as far as how much they have spent of the funds, what's remaining, generally kind of what they have used the funds for. What we knew going in, what the priorities were. For example, we knew that a priority was to harden the classrooms, basically to change locks out across the entire state so that faculty could lock the classrooms from the inside without a key. This was a result of the Virginia Tech incident. We also knew that we needed to replace panic bars. We knew we needed to improve lighting and security systems. And those are the things that the campuses have used the money for. And they have progressed quite well. I think our community colleges have spent about 90% of the funds available to them. We've got one community college with a large project that's out for bid now that basically will wrap up the spending for the community colleges. For our TCATs, we've spent about 82% of the funds, and each of them that have any remaining funds have a project in mind, and they're in the process of implementing that. So overall, we've spent about 88% of those funds. So that's kind of an example of a situation where we followed up with the campuses to ensure that they've spent the money. With these funds, we also asked that internal audit review this as well. So they went out to the campuses, Mike Batson and his staff, the internal auditors at the campus level, performed audits and reviews of the spend to make sure it was spent according to how it was intended to spend and that it was accomplishing the purpose that was intended. So I think that's probably the most recent example that we've got on something that kind of went through this process and was recommended and funded in the state budget.
And then with regard to the expenditure for the extra personnel at the technical colleges, we would have expected outcomes that we would want those individuals to obtain. We would expect that with these additional staff that the processes would be put in place that we could then measure the effectiveness of the job that everyone's doing in that arena.
Thank you, Chancellor Tiden. Any other comments from any other members or team? If not, this is also, as you are aware, an informational item, therefore no official action is needed by the committee. And I want to apologize again for the audio difficulties that I had, which I'll parenthetically say is interesting. My organization is getting ready to move to Microsoft Teams platform, so hopefully I won't have these issues when we do so. But does any member have any business to come before the committee that has not already been discussed? If not, without objection, I will declare this committee meeting to be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Duckett. And you know, you have a busy day ahead, so thank you for being part of this today, chairing our finance meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Talk to you later. Or tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And just as a reminder for everyone, I've neglected to do this at the beginning, knowing we were on a short time frame on this. A welcome to any media and guests who may be joining us today. This meeting is being live streamed. And Chancellor, I know you're going to chime in along the way, and I'll come back to you if you have any final announcements at the end prior to our board meeting tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Thank you
very much. Thank you. Kind of continuing this important conversation from the Finance Committee meeting, I'll turn this over to Regent Apple for an interesting discussion on workforce development.
Good morning, Regent Reynolds. How are you doing?
Good.
It's great to hear. It's great to hear from everyone. I miss you. And we're now going to call the informational meeting of the Workforce Development Committee to order. And Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Apple.
Here.
Regent Burdine.
Here.
Regent Gill.
Here.
Regent Goldsmith.
Here.
Regent Hatch.
Here.
Regent Reed.
Here.
Regent Varland. Regent Varland. I see you're on the call, but I don't hear you. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Then we'll proceed, and I'm going to call on Vice Chancellor Puryear for the presentations, or actually President Puryear, to present the presentation. Thank you, Carol.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you for the opportunity to share the Center for Workforce Development September report. We're always excited to talk about what we're doing, and there are good things happening. Next slide, please, Carol. Thank you. We have 2 agenda items for today's meeting. Both are informational items, but I do want to share with you an update with the apprenticeships and current projects and the center updates that we have going on. Madam Chair, if it is okay with you, we will just go through the agenda items and then take any questions or comments at the end, if that is to the will of the committee.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, please proceed. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, I'm going to ask Nathan Garrett, who works with the Center for Workforce Development, works with all the registered apprenticeships across the state, and is serving as the interim president at TCAP McMinnville, to share an update on the apprenticeship program. Nathan?
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Dr. Puryear and Madam Chair and members. Very excited to provide an update on what the Tennessee Board of Regents has been up to in the registered apprenticeship arena. So first and foremost, just an overview of apprenticeship. Again, this is a fundamental training platform that has been used for a long time, and one that we've really refocused on. And one of the most interesting and dynamic parts of an apprenticeship training model is, first and foremost, it's focused on, number one, the business, the occupation in which the business is in need of. And for the apprentice, this is an employment strategy. So from day one, as soon as they become an active apprentice, they are full-time employed individuals earning a livable wage while attending a Tennessee Board of Regents institution. So we see this as a really dynamic training platform, and one that we see growing. And so as we look at the Tennessee Board of Regents, an overview of where we're at right now is we have 16 different TBR institutions set up as sponsors of apprenticeship. And so basically a sponsor of apprenticeship, it's an accrediting body that says you have completed your due diligence to offer these types of programs. So of the 16, it just happens to break down. We have 8 community colleges currently and 8 TCATs currently leveraging this training model. When we look a little further into the data, we have 32 employers across the state of Tennessee that are participating, that are partners with a TBR institution and have active apprentices employed. When we look at our number of apprentices within the system, we're at 265 active apprentices. And so that trend has been growing as we started this work just a little over a year ago. When we really look at what those apprentices are making, the wages, the great thing about apprenticeship is they have a set wage scale the first day that they go into their place of work. So when we average all those 265 apprentices out, the starting wage is going to be $13.13, and the ending wage is going to be $19.12. So that's an average amount when we take into account all 265 apprentices and their wages when they start, and the wages and what they'll receive when they finish. And all this information has been pulled from the United States Department of Labor RAPID system, which is what we have to track and put that data into. One of the areas that we're really excited about is traditionally, construction. An apprenticeship is a very well understood model of training. And when we first began this march towards apprenticeship, we saw construction as a low-hanging fruit. We were able to enter into that sector. We were able to explain our reason for being in that training arena, and it really went very well. But as we look at where we're at now, it's very interesting that not only are we doing apprenticeships in construction, we're now in IT, we're in advanced manufacturing, we're in healthcare, and we're also in tourism. And so as we continue this focus on apprenticeship, we're expanding our focus into more non-traditional sectors that apprenticeship can be applied toward. A couple of things that we've done. As of right now, our office has worked with individual colleges, helping to train, understand the apprenticeship model, recruit companies, kind of provide the overview of what this training model is. What we have done since July, we saw this apprenticeship training model as an appropriate response for where we were at in COVID. And so when we look at what we've done since July, we've worked with all the colleges and said, we really want to work as a system together. And instead of doing a program at this college and a program at that college, how can our office serve as a central arbiter, creator, whatever you want to call it, of programs that when you go out and talk to companies, you know you've got these accomplished in the hopper. And as part of that, the online learning is something that we'll continue to talk about. We saw an opportunity for our office to develop online apprenticeship programs and make those apprenticeship programs available for any TCAT or community college in the state that would like to pull those down and implement those throughout the state. And so I always like to focus on 3 things. I can do 3 things really well most of the time. So when we look at the occupations, we allow data to drive our decisions. What occupations are most in demand when we look at our 9 ECD regions of the state? And so those were relatively easy to identify based on the data. And so first, computer support technician was one of those occupations that was in high demand in every region of our state. Second was medical assisting. Medical assisting jumped off the page as far as data goes with the need, the demand need, and then also the supply of those individuals in Tennessee. And then third, we focused on production technician. And again, this was all data driven based on data that was provided to us by the Department of Economic Development. And so I am proud to say that since July, we were able to launch that medical assisting apprenticeship program statewide. We partnered with a company called MedCert. And to date, I do have to give a shout out to Walter State and Dr. Anita Ricker. Within the past 2 months, she has went from no medical assisting apprentices to almost 25. And so that's a huge growth in just about 2 months. And so the great thing about this partnership is it is at no cost to the employer or the apprentice for this first round of training. And so we really saw this opportunity in the medical assisting to get in healthcare, to introduce the idea of apprenticeship and to seed that throughout the state. And then we are proud also to say we partnered with TCAT Shelbyville to develop an online computer support technician program. And we'll actually roll that out to the colleges October 2nd. And so these are programs that they're going to be able to latch onto. They're going to be able to go out to companies, show them that they're ready to initiate this training. And so this is a really good opportunity to scale apprenticeships in a much more dynamic and system-wide level. Production technician we're working on now, so that these will all be rolled out within the next 2 months and available to the colleges. Some of the new projects that we're working on that I'm really excited about. We got a phone call from the Tennessee Department of Transportation. Now every day when we drive in, we see folks doing great work on the road system. And part of the TDOT's training apparatus, they view the occupation of maintenance, highway maintenance road technician as an area that they really need to focus on. And so working with the TDOT, this highway maintenance occupation is going to be a program that we can roll out statewide. And so we're working with Miss Casey Vatter over at TDOT. They have several hundred roadway maintenance technicians that they would like to see in this program. And so while we're focused with TDOT on this occupation, as we went through this process, we've talked about apprenticeship. The next conversation is that they had with me earlier this week. Does this work with admin? Does this work with IT? And of course, the answer is absolutely. We could provide those training pathways utilizing TBR colleges across the state to make this happen. And so this is going to be a really interesting apprenticeship program with TDOT, and we're very excited about what the future holds with that. A second program that we see going statewide, we're working with the Tennessee Association of Building Inspectors right now to develop an apprenticeship for a building inspector. And so in places like Davidson County and the larger areas, and even in your more rural communities, we see growth. We've got construction going on, and one of the pinch points, especially if you're trying to build, is how do we get more building building inspectors out there so we can speed these these processes up. And this is an area that the occupation was really hurting to recruit into. And so an apprenticeship program is a perfect recruitment tool for these municipalities. And so we're building this apprenticeship program, working with some faculty at TCAP Memphis with the goal of having this operational by January 1, 2021. So those are a couple new projects that have come down the hopper. And again, when we talk about apprenticeships, when we talk about where we're at as the Tennessee Board of Regents, we look at the trends, and all trends are positive. We see growth in sponsors, more colleges participating. We see growth in employer engagement, so more employers calling and saying, how do I get involved in this? And as such, with more employers, you get more apprentices. And so those are really important positive trends that we see. Another trend that I see is most of these apprenticeship programs start off as non-credit programs. They're quick. We can, time to market is much quicker when we keep that in a special industry training atmosphere. However, the neat thing that we've seen is once we develop this apprenticeship program, non-credit, special industry training, we're then able to work these programs into the credit arena. And so colleges like TCAT Nashville and TCAT Jackson have done a great job. TCAT Nashville in particular, they started apprenticeship programs, special industry. They were able to get it rocking and rolling, and in less than 30 days. Come January 2021, those programs will be offered as traditional college programs. And so we see this as really increasing that enrollment into our traditional preparatory programs. And then really when we look at next steps, what are we looking on? Where are our trends? What do we need to focus on? First and foremost, we've got to continue the training with colleges. We want to make sure that as we offer apprenticeships, we are doing what the United States Department of Labor asked us to do. We want to make sure that what we've got, we're taking care of, and we're good stewards of this training model. Second, I think from a system standpoint, we're having conversations to procure a cloud-based data tracking model that is focused solely on United States Department of Labor apprenticeship programs, because there's some data that we have to track with apprenticeship programs that we don't have to track in traditional courses, that being on-the-job training. And then also, we really want to increase the number of colleges participating. We want to increase the number of employers participating and increase the number of active apprentices in the state of Tennessee. And so, again, all positive trends that we see. We're proud of the work that the colleges have done. They've taken a new training model. They've understood it, they've implemented it, and have done a great job. So in conclusion, we're really excited about what apprenticeships have to offer as we move down the road, and see really nothing but growth and expansion in this training arena. And I'd really appreciate the time, Madam Chair and members, and Dr. Puryear, I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. I think it's easy to see why we're having a successful apprenticeship program with the Tennessee Board of Regents is with Nathan's enthusiasm and his knowledge and his passion. And he's pretty good at wearing two hats. And I'd like to go on the record. He can do more than 3 things at one time, Nathan. I know you can. So thank you for that great report. We're going to move on with the next agenda item. And it's just a quick update of some of our current projects and our center updates that we have for you. One of the things that we have been monitoring since the COVID has been the WARN numbers, and Jennifer Fuchs does that for our office, and that is actually the worker adjustment and retraining notifications. There's good news with this and there's bad news. The good news is we are not seeing as many of those notices, and these are the notices of companies that are laying people off either permanently or temporarily. And so we're seeing a reduced number of those coming through, which is a good sign to me. I would hope next time we have this meeting, I never have to report these numbers again. But unfortunately, the reality is that we've had a lot of people in Tennessee that have suffered because of the COVID. Actually, right now, our number that we have received of Tennesseans who have been laid off as of 9/4 was 30,742. And they were either temporarily or permanently laid off. Unfortunately, the Middle Tennessee area is leading in that percentage. 55% of these folks were in the Middle Tennessee area that have been laid off or temporarily displaced. But truly, I look forward to not having to ever report these numbers, but we are going to keep a watch on them. What Jennifer does when she gets these numbers is she gives those out to the workforce coordinators in the areas to help the people understand the services that our colleges can offer for them. So that is just a brief update on the Warren notices that we have. The next item that I wanted to share with you are about some exciting statewide recruitment efforts. While COVID is here, we are still figuring out ways to recruit and bring industry to Tennessee. And I'm happy to report that since July 1, we've had 4 projects that our institutions are working with. The first one is in West Tennessee. It's Orion, and it is a manufacturing company, again, looking at all types of certifications, blueprint reading, quality. We don't have a lot of information about these companies. We just get the basic information, enough to connect our institutions with, and oftentimes do now virtual presentations with the organizations, or we have hosted a few very small regional tours as well. But Orion is in West Tennessee. It is a still project that's still active. I'm excited about that one. I've got my fingers crossed. Hawk is our second program. That is in East Tennessee. Cleveland State and Motlow Community College have presented both to these groups. And it is a manufacturing company, and it is still an active project with the state. Project Sunshine is also in East Tennessee, also manufacturing. That project has been working with Cleveland State and also with TCAT Athens. We actually did a small presentation to a small group the 1st of July in that particular program area. It has been put on hold right now because of the COVID environment that we're in, but we're hoping that project will step back up soon. And the last project that we've been working on statewide is Austria, and this was in East Tennessee as well, and then manufacturing. They're looking at a lot of machining, industrial maintenance, and welding, and it is still a very active program as well. They did visit several TBR campuses while they were in town, and also we did do a virtual meeting with them. So we're excited about those possibilities, and glad to know that just because we're all operating differently, it's a good sign that companies are still looking to come to Tennessee. Says a lot about Tennessee, and happy to work with the colleges that train their workforce. Our next item is with the Tennessee Business Roundtable. The Workforce Center is working with the president there at the Tennessee Business Roundtable to create a statewide, we're calling it micro-credentialing. And that is basically just short-term training that will get people in the workforce. And as Nathan mentioned, perhaps going the apprenticeship route or just having some skills that makes them a very workable employee the first day on the job. We're concentrating on the construction area as well as customer service. Dr. Ricker has been helping me with that, and she's doing a great job. We're looking at these to be, especially in the construction area and the electrical and plumbing area, we're looking at those to be a hybrid program where they can do a lot of the work online, but also come on ground to do the lab activities. These will also be statewide. We are working again with the Tennessee Business Roundtable, and we're really working on a plan to make sure when we roll this out that we have success. Our job right now, after our last meeting, is to pull together all the different programs that we offer in the different areas, and then we will be meeting with the Tennessee Business Roundtable to narrow down the list and decide exactly what programs, what features should be in those programs, and how we're going to market and offer this. So that's an exciting program to be working with too. Next topic is the update on the Center for Workforce Development. As you know, we were formed in June, and we haven't stopped working yet, but we do know we had budget constraints. We also know that we could not hire new employees, but we did figure out a way to have some additional help for the center, and I certainly appreciate this chancellor's support of this. We have contracted with 3 current employees across the state, Dr. Nita Ricker in Walter State in East Tennessee, Hillary Marabetti at Volunteer State in Middle Tennessee, and John Hodgkins at TCAT Jackson in West Tennessee. And they're going to sort of be the the boots on the ground in those particular regions. They will assist the center in the mission, carrying out the mission. They will work with business and industry representing the region, not just their college, but their entire region, as we have workforce needs, whether it's just assisting with data collection, as I had to have some help yesterday with, or selling a workforce training across the region and working with business and industry to find training solutions. And again, also working to carry on Tennessee Trained in a new virtual format, and also helping to hire, not hire, but to train new workforce employees as they are hired across the state. So I am looking forward to working with Dr. Ricker, Hillary, and John. They have been wonderful. Together, they have 92 years of workforce experience. So overnight, we've added 92 years to our center, and Chancellor, I'm thrilled. We had a great day yesterday working together, so I think it's going to be a great plan. So last on the agenda, normally at our September meeting, we talk about our workforce hours. One of the things that has happened this year is simply because of COVID and reporting and some other items taking precedence, we do not have our final numbers from THEC yet about the number of companies that we have worked with. And so what I have for you today, next slide please, Carol, is a showing of some of the companies that the community colleges and technical colleges have worked with during the year. And I hope in December to have the final numbers, so we'll have the head count of the workforce training that the system has completed, as well as the FTEs and the number of training hours. So as you can see, there are large companies, there are small companies, but they are all companies that help to keep Tennessee working. So we are proud to be a part, and we will have those the final information for you in December on our numbers. So Madam Chair, that completes my report. Nathan and I are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, President Freer, and thank you, President Garrett. I just want to say up front that I'm very appreciative of the insight that you're using, the opportunities, visionary, to centralize the location and scale our services during a critical time of COVID, and also very impressed with the data you're using to drive your decisions and then trending your outcomes. So those are all things that show great accountability. And while this is a critical topic in our nation right now about building our workforce and making sure that we have opportunities for every citizen to join the workforce, I applaud all the efforts you're doing. And I know that you're spending a lot of your time making this happen. And on behalf of the committee, I want to say thank you. And now I'll open it up for any questions from anyone.
I've got a question. This is Burdine. Carol, is this the apprenticeship program that originated at Northeast State? Is that the same model?
There are certain components, and Nathan, you may address that better than I can. There are certain components that are the same, and it's following a lot of how Northeast did it.
Okay.
Correct, Nathan?
Yeah, so Northeast State was the first adopter of implementing the United States Department of Labor apprenticeship in a higher education atmosphere, and so they absolutely were, and they're still knocking them out there, working with those industry partners.
So how many other community colleges in the state of Tennessee are able to do this?
As of right now, we have 8 different community colleges that are sponsors, and then 8 different TCATs that are sponsors.
Okay.
And those, I can get you those individual colleges. I had it logged in. So when we look
send that to you, Regent Burdine.
Okay, thank you. I love the model, and I love that you all are looking at the communities and what they need, not backing out training and jobs that aren't going to be available. So that's excellent model.
We'll get that information to you. And actually, Nathan can pull exactly the programs that they're offering so you can see. We'll get that into all of the committee meetings. In fact, Sandra will probably send it to you and just let it all go to all the committee members if that's the desire.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Carol, this is Joey Hatch. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Regent Hatch. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. I don't have a question, but an observation. There was a movie about 30 years ago called Dave, Kevin Kline was the actor, and in the movie, he ran an employment business, and he was real positive, and he always talked about, hey, it's Monday, everybody works on Monday. And I love the way you present this information, you and Nathan both. You're always positive, you're always excited, and in these times, you know, it's tough to do that right now. So I think you're the perfect person for this job, and I really appreciate how you're approaching it. So thanks for that.
You are so kind. I'm just blessed to work with good people, and really, just come see us. We're having a great time at TCAP Murfreesboro and the Center for Workforce Development. We may not understand the seriousness of everything, but we're having a good time. So please come by. We'll give you a mask and put you to work.
Good deal.
Thank you for your kind comments.
Any other questions?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say, if we get Carol per year a job to go dig ditches, she'd be the happiest ditch digger there was ever out there. And she would do it perfectly and in spades and have everybody else out there loving digging ditches. So, Joy, thank you for that comment, because I think she and Nathan and she are a great pair, and she is just wonderful at everything you do. And thank you so much. I love the analogy today because I love that movie. Everybody works on that.
Thank you, Regent Varlin. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, Carol, please give kudos to your entire team, because we know you have lots of people working with you to make this happen.
Me too.
And if anyone, does anyone have any further business to come before the Workforce Development Committee? If no objection, then the Workforce Development Committee stands adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thanks, you guys. Well done. And just for the record, I'm using my TCAT Yeti mug this morning. So in keeping with the spirit of workforce development. So there you go. You can't really see it, but it's there. Good work. Good work. Regent Green, the floor is now yours to call our Personnel and Compensation Committee meeting to order, please.
Sounds good. Can you all hear me well?
Yes.
All right, great. Good morning. Good to see everyone. And I'm readjusting my Bluetooth, so bear with me if it goes in and out. But thank you, Madam Chair. I'm calling the Committee on Personnel and Compensation of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Hatch.
Here.
Chairman Green.
Here.
Regent Shockey.
Here.
Regent Varlin.
Here.
Regent White.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Great. As we have a quorum, we'll proceed with the first item of our agenda, which is the consent agenda. You may recall that at the committee chairs meeting, we briefly went over the following 3 items under the consent agenda, and materials were provided on our website. Unless anyone has an additional question about an agenda item, we will act on all 3 with one call vote. These items are recommendation to award tenure upon appointment, faculty promotion by exception for our TCAT Shelbyville, and faculty promotion to increase adjustments. All right, Sanjay, did you want to call for a motion?
Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion. It's Tom.
Second, this is Joey.
Thank you.
Are there any questions that we can address, or Vice Chancellor Lana Hamilton can assist as well? Sorry, guys, you hear my first grader with distance learning in the background. She's in English right now, so sorry about that. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and act on the motion. As we're conducting this meeting electronically, Sanjay, will you go ahead and have a roll call vote?
Thank you. Chairman Green.
Aye.
Regent Hatch.
Aye.
Regent Shockey.
Aye.
Regent Varlin,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is institutional requests for new or amended compensation plans. Vice Chancellor Danny Gibbs, will you go ahead and work through those recommended proposals?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. You have before you today 2 new compensation plan proposals and 1 compensation plan revision for your approval. Typically, if you recall, we submit compensation plan proposals for review at the June committee meeting. And if you will recall, we did submit, I believe it was 2 new plans and a plan revision in June. Additionally, this year, because of the pandemic, we allowed institutions additional time to submit their compensation plans, which has made it necessary to bring those additional plans before you at the September meeting. In accordance with TBR Guideline Piece 43, Dyersburg State Community College and Roane State Community College have submitted new compensation plans for your review and approval. Additionally, Jackson State Community College has submitted a revision to their existing plan. And please be reminded, though, that today you'll only be approving the plan and its methodology. Any payments on the plan would come before you at a future board meeting for authorization. As was mentioned in the consent agenda report, Jackson State's proposing a revision to their compensation plan related to faculty promotions. The previous plan allowed for a 5% increase for faculty promotions, but didn't address what to do if the 5% wasn't enough to move the faculty member into at least the minimum of the correct new pay grade. They are proposing a revision to their plan to allow for a 5% increase or the minimum amount necessary to move the faculty member into the appropriate pay grade, whichever is larger for faculty promotions. The 2 new plans provide for a compensation framework for all employee groups to address changes in market. Dyersburg State's previous plan was completed in 2010, while Roane State's previous plan was completed in 2013. All positions in the proposed plan are priced at 100% of the market. The study included all employees in all job classifications: clerical and support, administrative professional, executives, faculty, and deans. Compensation Consultants Performance Point was used to assist in the development of the new compensation plans. Performance Point has been used by several of our institutions in the past for the development of their comp plans. The new comp plans and plan revisions were reviewed within the system office by committee, and there was representation from various TBR offices of academic affairs, finance, and human resources. The committee reviewed the proposals for methodology and the market data being used, equity, consistency, completeness, and clarity of the plans. Madam Chair, after review of the proposals, the committee recommends, or staff recommends, board approval of the new compensation plans for Dyersburg State and Roane State Community College and the plan revision for Jackson State Community College.
Thank you, Danny. Do we have anyone with any questions?
I have a question, just to understand the process. When the revision, like at Jackson State, to their plan, do they then have to go in and revise whatever policy they have in terms of compensation for, like, earning a higher degree or something like that? Because it seems like those things are related to each other, and yet the compensation plan is a bigger thing than the policy to me. I don't even know if I'm framing the question right, Danny.
That's a good question, and I think you're right. The compensation plan that's approved by the board is the bigger document. And yes, if they have a local policy, which I think most colleges do, then they would go in and revise that policy to reflect what was approved in the compensation plan.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Kind of good question. If there are no other questions, love to call for a motion.
Hey, this is Lee. So moved.
Thank you so much. And Thanks, Tom. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Green,
Aye.
Regent Hatch,
Aye.
Regent Shockey,
Aye.
Regent Barlin,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. The next item that we have is tenure recommendations for 6 faculty at Volunteer State Community College. Vice Chancellor Lana Hamilton, will you please share the recommendation?
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Green, and good morning, committee members. Volunteer State Community College has submitted 6 additional recommendations to tenure faculty. The 6 recommendations were included on the promotion list, which was approved at the June Board of Regents meeting, but were mistakenly left off the tenure recommendation list. These recommendations were since submitted with supporting materials, and central office staff have certified that the approved campus policies and procedures for tenure recommendations were followed in each case. There are 6 faculty who we would like to recommend for tenure. So on behalf of Dr. Jerry Faulkner at Volunteer State Community College and the Tennessee Board of Regents Academic Affairs staff, we would like to recommend approval of the 6 faculty for tenure. Thank you, Chairman Green.
Thanks so much. Do we have any questions? Okay, hearing none, love to call for a motion to approve the 6 tenure recommendations as presented.
This is Joey, so moved.
Thanks, Joey. In a second?
Second.
This is Lee, second. Okay.
Sonia, did you get that? I think we had 2 regents provide a second.
Yes, I've got
Okay.
Regent White and Regent Shockey providing a second.
Awesome, thank you.
All right.
All right, will you act on the motion and have a roll call vote, please?
I'd be glad to. Chair Green,
Aye.
Regent Hatch,
Aye.
Regent Shockey,
Aye.
Regent Varlin,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thanks so much. And before we adjourn this this committee, I just wanted to tell Lana and Danny, thank you again for all that you're doing with this particular topic with personnel and compensation. As Carol described, all that we do with workforce development is truly the professors, the staff, the team that's on these campuses that keep the wheel turning in the wheel. So these are great opportunities to reward all of the folks that are doing the hard work and recognize these, set times within their career to reward them from a promotional standpoint. So thank you for all that you're doing, and we appreciate that guidance. If we don't have any other business to come before the committee, may I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Lee, so moved.
Yes, Danny,
Thanks,
second.
Lisa.
Danny,
Thanks,
second.
Danny, for a second. The Committee on Personnel and Compensation for the Tennessee Board of Regents stands adjourned.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And well said there at the end. It's an appropriate shout out to all the people who supported. And with that, Regent Garland, you are up with a good report from External Affairs, I know is coming.
Yes, welcome to the External Affairs Committee, everyone. Appreciate you tuning in today. It's good to see some familiar faces. Although I will say, I hope that in an effort to save money, we're not going to stay on Zoom forever, because I miss my friends so terribly. It just doesn't, it's just not the same. It's just not. So, and I want to see our new people in person. So just saying, I miss you guys. So I'm going to ask Sandra to call the roll, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Apple.
Here.
Regent Gill.
Here.
Regent Green.
Here.
Regent Hatch.
Here.
Regent Shockey. Here. Chairman Garland.
Here.
And Regent Want. Regent Want.
Here.
You're on. Yes.
Yay.
Thank you. All
Right.
Late
We got a
breaking.
full vote. We got a full vote, Sonja, so
You've got it.
excited.
You've got a quorum.
Yeah. Just want to call on Vice Chancellor Kim McCormick to provide the external affairs update on government relations and strategic advancement and marketing initiatives. Kim, take it away.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the External Affairs Committee. I always dread following Carol Career, but then today I had to follow Dr. Hamilton, so it just continues on. But so today I'm going to provide updates on government relations, advancement and marketing, digital strategy, and our new group, Campus Safety and Security, will be updated for you all tomorrow. These are 3 or 4 very different departments, but they all work together so well cohesively to support one another and also to support our system office and our campuses. So I will tell you up front, I'm proud of their work. But I would like to start today, Madam Chair, with government relations. The General Assembly concluded a 3-day special session on August 12th to complete unfinished business dating back to the end of the regular session in June. The agenda included COVID-19 lawsuit protections for business and schools, post-secondary included, a telehealth bill, and a sweeping effort to crack down on protests that have raged around the Capitol for the past few weeks. Of interest to TBR was the governor's Tennessee COVID-19 Recovery Act, which provides certain liability protections to public institutions of higher ed and to other entities. The Tennessee COVID-19 Recovery Act also clarifies that there is no cause of action for injuries incurred from COVID-19 unless recklessness is demonstrated. This will create an elevated standard and provide fair protections. For a claim to move forward, the claimant must file a verified complaint with specific facts that the alleged injury, illness came from the workplace. The claimant must also get certified the injury, damage, or death from a licensed physician. This bill is retroactive to August 3rd, 2020, which is the date that Governor Lee announced the special session. The intent of retroactivity in the legislation is to eliminate any scenario where lawsuits would be quickly filed as a placeholder, really, to have current law apply. And the legislation also has a place for legislation to be, I'm trying to figure out how to word it, so that individual piece of legislation is ever ruled unconstitutional, any piece of it, then the entire law will be removed from state law. If that makes any sense. Finally, it clarifies that it does not apply to claims under Tennessee's work compensation law. And if there are any questions on that, we can address those with Brian Lapps, our general counsel. This year's legislative 2020 compilation and second extraordinary session compilation are both posted to our TBR website, and it's under the government relations section. You will find the bills broken down there by categories specific to the subject matter. Government relations also put together a memo regarding guidance in relation to the COVID era legislative events and interaction, and this has been sent to our president. As you know, the General Assembly has been very supportive of the TBR College System of Tennessee. They always have been, and we need to maintain our relationships with the members. And fortunately, our presidents have always done an excellent job in this regarding support, and we appreciate that. Madam Chair, I'd like to move on now to advancement if you are ready. Okay. Okay, so
does anybody have any questions for Kim at this point about legislative? Okay, go ahead, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is an update on the Department of Strategic Advancement. The James Burdett Brown Scholarship Committee distributed $3,000 total to 11 TCAT students after the summer trimester. The Sam Odom Scholarship Committee will distribute a total of 13 $1,000 scholarships this semester and will award the same amount in spring of 2021. A total of $13,000 will be awarded in both fall and spring semesters, which is $26,000 in total, to nursing students at 13 community colleges. The same application process will occur in late fall for the 2021 spring semester. Denso gave $150,000 to TCAT Athens through the foundation, and kudos to President Stuart Smith on this. For President Kelly Cheney, Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs has established through the foundation the Mayor's Scholarship to go to Knox County employees who attend TCAT Knoxville. The first of 6 fundraising webinars was held July 28th through the Lighthouse Council for Community College Advancement Officers. There will be 2 other webinars for TCAT presidents and fundraising held in October of 2020 and February of 2021. The Foundation for the College System of Tennessee Board of Directors will meet virtually on Thursday, September 24th, so Thursday of this week. And they are a great group of people, and they're working very hard to help our foundation, and proud of their work as well. Madam Chair, we're ready now to move on to marketing and digital strategy.
Did anybody have any questions for Vice Chancellor McCormick on this? Okay, and just doing an incredible job. We had some committee meetings last week for the foundation, and it is literally rocking and rolling. It's better than we could have ever hoped for, to be honest, in terms of the relationships and the relationships that it is making, not just corporate, but I think with our community colleges and our TCATs. It's really been a very, very good thing. And I think we're going to be very pleased, not just with immediately where we are, but where we're going. So thank you so much, Vice Chancellor, and to Chris Perkins and his team.
Thank you. In marketing and digital strategy, this department has continued to produce the employee newsletter, the external newsletter, highlighting successes throughout the system, and the daily news summary to TBR and the college leadership. While the audiences are different for these 3 newsletters, we hope that they keep our different audiences updated, engaged, and encouraged. Multiple digital out-of-the-home, social, and television campaigns began back in May, and they will continue to run through next week to encourage enrollment at our colleges and to remind our campus communities that, as we always say, we're ready when they're ready. And that our colleges are the experts in both on-campus and online education in Tennessee. Associate Vice Chancellor Matthew Gann will provide a full marketing and digital strategy report to the board as part of the Chancellor's report tomorrow, and he's really done a great job with that report. I look forward to you seeing it. The marketing team has been meeting with community college marketing and communications staff bi-weekly. We've also created a TCAT marketing group made of presidents that represent their regions. These groups have shared best practices, exchanged ideas, and have been a great resource at the system level to allow us to assist with campus needs. If anything good has come from this COVID era, honestly, I think with our folks, it's been a chance to have more meetings and more interaction with campuses. So this has been great. We have created multiple toolkits for COVID-related items for campuses, including posters, organic social campaigns, and other resources for campuses to effectively communicate issues around the pandemic and in keeping our faculty, staff, students, and campus community safe. This is so exciting. We have developed a children's book with both Tommy and Tammy TCAT. We're working with the Governor's Early Literacy Foundation and our campuses to distribute books to children from pre-K to 3rd grade starting later this year. The purpose of both the coloring books that were released last year and the reading book this year is to educate children and their parents about different job options and the benefit of technical education. And lastly, our marketing and design team won multiple awards at last week's Tennessee College Public Relations Association annual meeting that was held virtually. They won accolades for digital campaigns, promotional campaigns, SOAR material, rave posters, radio ads, and video ads. So very proud of this team of people. And Madam Chair, is there anything you wanted to say about those awards before I move on to the last few pieces?
Well, yes. I mean, we are so proud of this team, and Matthew and his team have done just an amazing job representing all the schools. I think, Vice Chancellor, you were spot on when you said if anything good could have come out of this. It's funny because when you see people physically every day, you assume that you're communicating. And the truth is, I think we have learned so much about communication, this being a very good example, in a fear for not getting out to people. You have really done a great job inclusively. I mean, on all of the areas that you represent. And marketing is another great idea by getting a great example, by getting all of the schools involved and really asking. You're just getting so much support. I think building that trust and get everybody on board, you just can't replace that in terms of the where you have grown, I think, in these areas, and it really, really shows. So so proud of this team, and we really cannot wait to hear and see at the board meeting Matthew's presentation. I know you're just about to bust because you're so proud, and you should be. So thank you for giving me a chance to expand on that a little bit.
Thank you, Regent Varlin. They are great, and thanks to Dr. Amy Moreland's brilliant mind, we now have a system-wide COVID-19 dashboard on our website that is updated every Thursday morning, providing a very transparent resource for the monitoring of our cases of COVID, unfortunately, across our campuses. And I think we may have been one of the first in the state to establish that. So really proud of the work that Dr. Moreland did, and Matthew Gann and Joel Scott on our team. And this tool it's really helpful for presidents as they make decisions about teaching modalities on their campuses. And then finally, Regent Varlin, tomorrow during the Chancellor's report, I will be providing you an update on our campus safety and security work. So, Regent Varlin, unless there are any questions, this concludes our presentation.
Any questions out there on anything that she's presented? And Vice Chancellor McCormick, I'm going to say you can follow Carol Puryear and everyone else any day. You did a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, if there are no questions and no further business to come before the committee, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, Regent Varlin. And if you miss us, I'll simply say we miss you more. So.
I'm a people person, and I know there are probably some of you going, oh, this is the best thing ever, but not for me. I need my people.
Well, you made an important, you made such an important point about communication, right? And we are living in a time when there's no such thing as overly communicating. So thanks to all the good work being done and for your leadership in this regard. It's very helpful. With that, I will call on another of our outstanding team members, Regent Barbara Prescott, to lead us into academic policies and programs, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds. And so at this time, I will call to order our Committee on Academic Policies and Programs and Student Life. So as everyone has been giving out accolades, it's really amazing to listen to all the work that's being done. And I have to start by really complimenting Executive Vice Chancellor Russ Deaton and his staff, because providing instruction and training is the heart of what we do. And I think it's just amazing, as our chancellor said many times, we haven't missed a day during COVID. We've had to change things. They're working hard on that, and I just want to compliment them. I also want to welcome our newest member of the committee, Will McElhinney, who is our student regent, and we're happy to have you on the committee. So the first two items that we will take up are policy revisions, and I'll be calling on Vice Chancellor Heidi Lemming to do both of those. Vice Chancellor, if you could do one, and then we'll vote on it. And then,
could we call the roll quickly?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Easy to do. Believe me.
Do call the roll.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Duckett. Regent Goldsmith.
Here.
Regent McElhinney.
Here.
Chair Prescott.
Here.
Regent Varlin.
Here.
Regent White.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Sorry about forgetting that. So we'll start now with the first proposed revisions for TBR policy 1.12.01.00, which is on records retention and disposal. Vice Chancellor Lemming, could you carry us through that?
Thank you, Chairman Prescott. Good morning, everyone. This first policy is our records retention schedule and procedures for the disposal of records for the system office and all the institutions that are governed by TBR. There were some changes made to this policy in accordance with the state statute, and we consulted with our records staff on each campus, and they wanted some clarification on specific student records and the disposal and keeping, how long those records need to be kept. And so we have made changes to make that clear to that staff group.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve these revisions?
So moved. This is Danny.
All right. Regent Varlin, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, it's Tom.
Tom, thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions of Dr. Lemming or any discussion? All right, hearing none. Sandra, would you call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Goldsmith. Regent Goldsmith.
No, you're here.
Are you on mute, Regent Goldsmith? Regent McElhinney.
Aye.
Chair Prescott.
Aye.
Regent Varlin.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So we'll move to the next revision, and Dr. Lemming, you can carry us through that one.
The next policy is 2030105, our TCAT academic standards and readmission policy. The purpose of this policy is, as we've moved our TCATs to the shared service environment with Banner, we wanted to make sure that there was consistent guidance on how to deal with students' progression in their clock hour environment. So this is a policy that outlines our standards in order to for a student to maintain satisfactory attendance and progress in their programs of study. And so this is a policy that has gone through all of the TCAT presidents for review and approval, and comes now before you for approval.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve these revisions?
I'll make a motion. This is Danny.
All right. Regent Varlin, a second.
I can second. It's Tom.
All right, Regent White, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Sandra, would you call the roll again, please?
Regent Goldsmith.
Here.
Thank you. Are you approving or
I'm sorry.
abstaining?
Approve, yes.
Thank you. Regent McElhinney.
Aye.
Chair Prescott.
Aye.
Regent Farland,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Lemming. On our next item on the agenda is proposed new technical program implementations, modifications, and terminations for our TCATs. And to carry us through that item, I'll ask for Vice Chancellor Lana Hamilton to carry us through that one.
Good morning, Regent Prescott and committee members. Thank you very much. On behalf of our technical colleges and the Tennessee Board of Regents Academic Affairs Office, it is my privilege to present to you programmatic actions at the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technologies. There are 6 program proposals that are being presented for your review and approval. These proposals will allow the technical colleges to be more responsive to the needs of students, businesses, and industries. The proposals are TCAT McMinnville, a relocation of the existing cosmetology program from Coffee County High School to the main TCAT McMinnville campus. TCAT Morristown at the Jefferson County Instructional Service Center, the implementation of an evening cosmetology program. TCAT Murfreesboro, the implementation of a hybrid surgical technology program, the implementation of a hybrid delivery dental assisting program, and the implementation of a hybrid industrial electrical maintenance program. And TCAT Paris, the implementation of a hybrid practical nursing program.
All right. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. And you will also find in your packet program modifications that simply require notifications to the Vice Chancellor's office. So on behalf of our colleges and TBR, thank you for your review and your consideration, and we recommend approval of these academic actions.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the academic actions?
Yes, so moved. It's Tom.
Thank you, Regent White. Is there a second?
Second, it's Will.
Thank you, Regent McElyea. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Hamilton? Any comments, discussion? All right, hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. So Sandra, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Goldsmith.
Aye.
Regent McElyea.
Aye.
Chair Prescott.
Aye.
Regent Farland.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hamilton. So the next item is institutional mission profiles, and we'll call on Executive Vice Chancellor Russ Deaton to present this to us. And this is, I believe, an informational item. Vice Chancellor Deaton.
Thank you, Regent Prescott. And this actually is an item that will require action by the board. So when we get to the conclusion of that, these profiles were, of course, called for in the Complete College Tennessee Act of 2010, and they were reiterated in the Focus Act of 2016. And the profiles, which are distinct from institutional mission statements that would be required, say, for SAC-COC, these profiles are called for in the statute as essentially a tool for the boards and for THEC as they develop broader state policy, whether it's the outcome-based funding formula, campus strategic plans, or even a guide for the commission as they consider new academic programs. These profiles, as you can see in your material, really have some common elements across the 13 community colleges. And let me point out the statute only requires them for the community colleges. First is the open access mission of TBR. We are indeed the only public sector in Tennessee that has that mission, and you can see these profiles that are imbued with that mission, serving Tennesseans of all backgrounds, no matter where they come from. Each profile also tries to emphasize the makeup of a school, who it serves, what its geography is, the type of academic programs it has, basically anything that kind of gives a high-level sense of what that school's profile is as it serves its students in its region. It also tries, Madam Chair, to offer some areas of distinction, some aspects of the campus that are unique. So, for instance, this year's iteration of the profiles points out that we had 2 additional community colleges who achieved the Leader College designation from Achieving the Dream for its work on student completion and equity, Southwest and Chattanooga. That's a rare distinction handed out to only a handful of colleges nationwide each year, and we had 2 this year who achieved that distinction. These profiles finally have a consistent structure across the 13. They've been reviewed thoroughly by both the senior staff and presidents at each college, and of course by TBR staff, and we recommend them for approval, and if so, then to transmission to THEC for their consideration.
All right, thank you very much. So this requiring action, do I have a motion to approve the institutional mission profiles? Someone, please.
Yes, this is Tom. So moved.
Hey, Tom, thank you. You're getting a workout today, so thank you, Regent White.
I'll second.
Thank you, Regent Barlin. Are there any questions of Dr. Deaton about these? I think these are, it's excellent that we're doing this. The work that you've done is outstanding, and it's just another way that we become one system, and we really are able to project what it is that we're about, and how each of the institutions are unique within their unified mission. So these are excellent, and we thank you for your work. With a motion and a second, this will require a roll call vote. So Sandra, could you call the roll for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regent Goldsmith.
Aye.
Regent McElyea.
Aye.
Chair Prescott.
Aye.
Regent Garland.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So just a comment here. This isn't committee work, but tomorrow Dr. Deaton and his team will be providing some slides that I think are important for the whole board. And just to go back to a question earlier that had to do with knowing whether our strategies are working, I think this is something that I'm so proud of, the work in academics on this, because constantly in our committee meetings, we talk about not just the research, what we're finding out about our strategies, but what that research is telling us then to do. So they are constantly looking and assessing our strategies to see what the outcomes are, and then to see where those outcomes lead us. So I'm looking forward to the board hearing more tomorrow from Dr. Deaton. So at this point, though, that concludes our committee meeting. So can I have a motion to adjourn? Come on,
so moved. I got you.
Thank you. There's a second, and so we stand adjourned.
Thank you, Regent Prescott. Well said, as always, concerning tomorrow. It's going to be a fruitful discussion, I believe. As a matter of housekeeping, just as if we were meeting in person, our committee reports and, of course, the materials for tomorrow will be on the TBR website. If you have any changes, committee chairs or anyone, as you look at those committee reports, just let Sandra know prior to that report back to the full board tomorrow. Thank you also to everybody for allowing us to adjust the time tomorrow to 11, because the Chancellor has a really big show, as Ed Sullivan used to say, in the morning. And I turn to you to tell us a little bit about that and for any other announcements you have for us.
Thank you so much. Yes, tomorrow morning I will be presenting to the House Higher Ed group. So thanks to all of you for delaying our start time till 11. I am supposed to be with them at 9:30 in the morning. The topic that they were most interested in is our COVID response. So that's what we will be going over with that group in the morning, letting them know how our system managed the COVID issues that have occurred and the impact that it's had on our system. So I will also give you that update tomorrow when we convene so that you can see kind of an update. I know that all of you have been getting our every other day updates, and most of what I'm going to be talking about has been included in those, but just as kind of a reminder, having it in one place to talk about it tomorrow. I'd like to echo what all of the chairs of their committees have said today. Every one of the vice chancellors, as you can tell, have done an incredible job of working with their teams, with the system. I'm so proud of the work that's been accomplished over the last 7 months. Regent Prescott, you're right. We never shut down. We have continued to work. COVID has simply been on top of that, but our daily issues never stopped, and we continue to serve our students at a very high rate. I'm also very pleased if you look at our COVID dashboard, the impact to our students has remained relatively small when you look at the numbers that we're posting every day. That's wonderful news and very encouraging for us that we can continue to do the work that is so important to the state and to the citizens as we continue to train them. I look forward to you hearing the reports tomorrow that really do go into great depth in some of the areas that we touched on today. Again, I think you're going to be very pleased with the work that the system has accomplished over the last several months. And Danny, I agree. I miss all of you. So I do hope that we will be able to get back to face soon. But I appreciate so much each of you tuning in and being there when you've been called upon, because every single one of you have been there. So thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. We appreciate you. And she'll be on live stream tomorrow morning if anybody wants to go to the Campus Assembly site. And talking about missing things, those who are watching on our campus, I miss you all. We applaud all you listening, presidents and faculty and staff. So thank you. And please, we are exceedingly grateful. We have had a thoughtful discussion this morning, even though we have used your time very efficiently. And as we've referenced, I think tomorrow we can continue this dialogue around some of the reports we'll be hearing. The thing that I'm struck by is the collaboration within the system and across the state with ECD, labor and workforce development. That's so critical at a time like this. And then finally, before we go, remember, we have all been given a homework assignment by Regent Hatch. Watch Kevin Kline in Dave.
I'll have to watch it again.
But it might be fun along the way. So with that, unless there are any other comments or business to come before the board, we will adjourn for today and look forward to being back with you at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you again. Have a good day. Be safe.